Thank you again for everybody for being here today. Hello and welcome to today's information session with CVS Health and Aetna. My name is Warner Petzold. I'm an employer outreach specialist for the University of Arizona Global Campus, and I'm a 10-year Air Force veteran where I served as a recruiter and combat camera photographer. We are excited you could join us today to learn more about the exciting opportunities with CVS Health and Aetna. Please note that this information session is geared towards military affiliate students and graduates. You are welcome to hear about careers at CVS Health and Aetna if you're not military affiliated. However, this session is tailored to the military community. Before I turn over the floor to Sarah McMullen with CVS Health, I want to go over a few housekeeping items. First, this webinar is being recorded. For all those who registered for today's information session, the recording will be emailed to you in a few days. At the end of the presentation, Sarah, Greg, and Michael will take time to answer as many questions as they can. At the bottom of the screen is a Q&A button. You can submit your questions with your name or anonymously to be answered live. We will do our best to get to as many questions as we can. However, if your question is not answered by the end of the presentation, you can email it to careerservices@uagc.edu. We will follow up with Sarah to get any remaining questions answered. Also, feel free to engage in the chat. You can pose questions in the chat, and members of the University of Arizona Global Campus Career Services team will be available to help answer questions during the presentation. If you have any technical difficulties, we recommend logging out of Zoom and logging back in. Now, I would like to introduce our guest employer today. Joining us is Sarah McMullen, Talent Acquisition Military Program Manager for CVS Health, where she creates and oversees enterprise initiatives to hire veterans, military spouses, guardsmen, and reservists. Sarah will be giving an overview of CVS Health and career opportunities. Also joining Sarah today is Greg Rutherford, Lead Director, Project Management at Aetna, an Army veteran, where he served as Assistant Brigadier Operations Officer, Plans Officer, Personnel Officer, Troop Executive Officer, Squadron Maintenance Officer, and Tank Company Executive Officer. Greg will share more details about his background during the presentation. Also joining Sarah and Greg is Michael Cole, as Senior Manager, Global Response and Operational Intelligence, Corporate Security and Resiliency at CVS Health. He's also an active duty Air Force OSI Special Agent and Superintendent. And Michael will also share more details about his background during the presentation. Sarah, Greg, and Michael, thank you so much for joining us here today. Sarah, I will go ahead and turn it over to you.
Great. Thank you, everybody. Let me share my screen here. All right. So thank you all again for attending our session. We are so excited to be here with you today and share more about CVS Health, and to have Greg and Mike joining me to share more about their own professional and personal experiences here within the organization and their own business lines as well, and provide some insights into career advice as you all are potentially searching for that next step, that next career journey that you're embarking on. I wanted to take a moment just to thank everybody on the line who is military affiliated, a veteran, a military spouse and family, for your service and sacrifice to our country, and just wanted to say it's a tremendous honor for us to be here. And Rebecca and Warner, thank you for the opportunity to present to your audience today. I really wanted to start with an overview of who we are. Who is CVS Health? That's honestly one of the main questions that we get. I think our brand is very well known. We have CVS Health pharmacies, health hubs, minute clinics throughout the nation, and our brand is well known from that standpoint. But a lot of people may not really understand beyond that our true mission as an enterprise, and really what makes up our culture, and why I personally love to work for the organization. So as you can see here, we have our mission, which is to take on many of the country's most prevalent and pressing healthcare needs by understanding and acting on what consumers want and need. Our goal is to treat people like human beings and not a number, and to really bring our hearts to every moment of your health, which is the purpose of our organization. I also wanted to briefly touch on our hard at work behaviors. A lot of times we receive questions on what is it like to work at CVS Health? What drives your culture? Could I be a cultural fit? Could I be a match to a role within your organization? And especially for, again, our veterans and military affiliated candidates, my answer is yes, without a shadow of a doubt. And I say that because our hard at work behaviors, which you see listed on the screen here, those are really the heart of our organization and our culture. Putting people first, rise to the challenge, join forces, create simplicity, and inspire trust. We live and breathe those every single day. I know that those are behaviors and values that I try to live outside of work every single day. And those really align and mirror a lot of the core values from the military as well, which is why I say, could you be a cultural fit? Absolutely. And these are behaviors that I know we'll touch on throughout the presentation as well. And Mike and Greg will touch on them a little bit too, but want you all just to really familiarize yourself with these behaviors and know that these are the center of our culture. A couple statistics and just more of an overview for you all in terms of the scale that CVS Health has. And part of the reason why I love working for the organization is the impact that I know our organization, our services have on a daily basis. We are 300,000 colleagues. We have more than 40,000 physicians, pharmacists, nurses, and nurse practitioners, and we serve more than 100 million customers across Caremark and Aetna. Beyond that, for retail pharmacy, we have nearly 1.5 billion prescriptions filled. So if we are talking about metrics, and if we're talking about how do we impact our customers and individuals throughout the United States every single day in order to improve their healthcare experience, these are just some of the numbers that speak to that and the impact that we have in all of our various business lines and career areas throughout the organization. I also wanted to briefly show this quick figure which you see in front of you, and this includes a lot of the different brands and logos that you may have seen affiliated with CVS Health, whether it's Minute Clinic or Quorum or Aetna, Accordant, Caremark, Pharmacy, Kidney Care, Health Hub. I wanted to show this because sometimes people don't realize that all of these fall within CVS Health. All of these are CVS Health. We are one organization, and Aetna was acquired by CVS Health a couple years ago as well. So wanted to provide that quick reminder and brand recognition as well, and a bit of clarity that when you see these logos, when you see the work that's being done by each of these incredible business areas and teams, this is all CVS Health, and the opportunities are endless in terms of how you can contribute with the skill sets that you all have to improve the lives and the healthcare for others. Career opportunity wise, we have, last that I checked, over 36,000 career opportunities. These are nationwide, full-time. They include internship opportunities, full-time remote, work from home flexible, and wanted to showcase that again, because a lot of times when people think of CVS Health, it's immediately thought of that we hire for pharmacists and we hire for retail, which is 100% true, but it's not often thought of that we also hire for supply chain, logistics, distribution, IT, cybersecurity, digital, legal, human resources. We have management and leadership roles available and opportunities as well. And even within our retail stores, again, we're building out that healthcare experience that people can have within those. So we have Minute Clinics, we have health hubs that are associated with those stores, which means not just pharmacists, but we do have nurses and physicians. We have behavioral health individuals within those centers and within our stores as well. So it really spans beyond what might be typically thought of as a career area opportunity with the organization. We do have a dedicated military careers page, which you see on the screen in front of you. I just wanted to call out that should you go to that careers page, When you perform a search within the search functionality, you will receive the same opportunities or the same search results as you would from the main career site. So our main career site is jobs.cvshealth.com. The main difference between that site and our military one is the additional information that we have on our military site that's going to give you insight into what we are doing to support our military and veteran community and candidates and colleagues. So it's really more so for an informational and a branding standpoint, and also includes some of the awards and recognitions that you see within this presentation right now, mainly including those just to showcase the fact that this is a commitment that our enterprise has to hire our qualified veterans and military spouses and military community. We've received the Vets Index Recognized Employer Award, several military-friendly awards, Best for Vets, and Best of the Best by U.S. Veteran Magazine, just to name a few. So that commitment really stems deep into our organization in terms of what we're looking to do to make sure we're supporting and serving back to our community that has protected and served our country tirelessly. And at this time, Greg, I will turn it over to you to share a little bit more about yourself and your business line.
Sure. Thanks, Sarah. So I'm going to talk through just kind of my background quickly, but I know I want to try to get through this relatively fast so we can have some time for Q&A at the end. So my name is Greg Rutherford. I'm a lead director of project management. I'm a part of the operations and strategic solutions team here at Aetna, which is considered the healthcare business side of CVS Health, so kind of distinct from the retail and the pharmacy side. Just quickly, my background, I graduated from the State University of New York at Binghamton. I'm not going to say what year because I think I'm probably a lot older than most of the folks on this call. And I was commissioned as a second lieutenant armor from Cornell University, ROTC. So from there, I'm going to jump over to the military experience center column here and just talk to the jobs that I've had. I was a tank platoon leader, tank company XO, forward deployed in the Republic of Korea. Then I came back to the U.S., was an S1 for those of you from the Army side. I was a Cav Troop XO and squadron maintenance officer. I originally landed at Fort Lewis. It was 132 Armor, and then it actually transformed as a part of the Army's modernization efforts into 114 Cav. I will say in the chat, if anybody knows who the two most famous alumni of 132 Armor are, don't Google and cheat. I'll tell you at the end of my talk, but they're not famous for being in the Army. They're famous for other stuff. So I'll save that to the end. Then I went to my captain's career course and ended up at Fort Hood with 1st Brigade, 1st Cav, Iron Horse, serving under Colonel Abrams. Upon separating from the military, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I ended up with one of the military headhunters or one of the military recruiters with Orion International, and I spent 4 years in a sales capacity there, learning that sales was not necessarily where I wanted to be. I went back to school, which, in the way that all of you are doing now, and I got my Six Sigma Green Belt from Villanova University online. So one of the things I'm going to stress throughout this presentation is how important the idea of continuing education is to helping to advance your career. So as a function of doing that certification online, that's how I got my next job as a Six Sigma Black Belt with McKesson Corporation, which is another big old healthcare company, one of the biggest companies you've probably never heard of. It's in the Fortune 10. I ended up spending 10 years at McKesson in a variety of roles there, and also served on the employee resource group for veterans while at McKesson, and made a lot of great contacts and networking opportunities internal to the company there. And then I moved into the private equity space for a couple of years with WaterLogic US, which was European private equity owned rental asset business. And then I moved back into the healthcare space, kind of where I belong, initially with Aetna on the Aetna Business Excellence side, and then CVS Health on the project management side. But during those times with both McKesson and with CVS Health, I got my certification as a black belt in Six Sigma from McKesson. And then I actually got my project management professional certification while I was at CVS Health. So again, some of the things I'm going to talk about in these themes, but the idea of continuing education and continuing to adapt and evolve is really critical on your career path. Just jump to the next slide. There we go. So I'm here kind of today to talk about project management, and just wanted to kind of frame up this conversation is it's the use of specific knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to deliver something of value. And I think one of the things I really wanted to bring forward is if you have any interest at all in project management as a future career path, you have already done it. You've done it maybe not in a formal capacity, but you've certainly done it in an informal capacity, and you certainly have experience with it. So I've listed here kind of the civilian examples, and these are the ones that you think of, right? Constructing buildings or developing software, or expanding a sales team into a new market. But on the military side, again, we've all done these things. We've certainly over the past 20 years of the global war on terror, security patrols and experience in theater, in deployed environments. MDMP for any of the folks that have served on Army or Marine Corps in particular staff functions, the military decision-making process. Creating an operations order is absolutely a project. Running a small arms range or a weapons qualification event, doing a command inspection, running a certification event like an EIB or an EFMB. Anything that really has the word mission attached to it can be translated as, into a project. And that, I think, is some of the challenge at being a veteran and translating your experience to civilian employers. But that's really, critical. To describe project management and kind of the work that I do, generally it's independent work, and it really primarily your job is to drive accountability. So again, anyone who's been in a leadership role in the military certainly has experience in that as well. It is, especially in this post or during COVID world, a lot of project management roles have shifted into a work from home or a remote status, which obviously is also great for military spouses that are, if their spouse is still in the military and you're still moving from post to post on PCSs, that is an opportunity to stay with the same company while you're moving. With the work from home piece, that side is great too. I had to put on a shirt to come in and present today with a collar on it, but normally I'm in a hoodie and wind pants for a lot of the work that I do. We don't spend a lot of time on camera. So that's part of the upside. And I would say just in general, project management, if you are interested in it, some of the best parts about it is it has constant variety. I've worked on sales projects. I've worked on process improvement projects. I've worked on strategic programs with new insurance products. So it's exciting in that it's not necessarily Groundhog Day. It's not the same thing coming into work every day. Day in the life of, generally, it's a lot of meetings. Like I said, it's holding people accountable, whether those meetings are in person or virtual. You do a lot of communications. You talk to a lot of different constituencies, from executive down to line workers, if you will. A lot of tracking and reporting. But again, there's a lot of variety in it. So it's not something that you typically get bored with. We can just jump to the next slide, Sarah. I guess just my overall pieces of advice. I think you heard me say it a couple of times on, seek self-improvement. You all are doing that already as a part of the University of Arizona Global Campus. But you saw back from my first slide, I didn't do all my education at one time. It's ongoing. It's continual education, because no matter what career field you happen to choose, it's always going to grow and adapt. And like I said, I completed my project management professional certification. The next thing I may look at is an Agile certification, because that Agile tends to be more the way that a lot of employers look to manage their projects currently. Find your purpose. One of the best things that I've done, and the reason that both Mike and I are here today, is we're both part of BRAVE, which is our employee resource group, or our colleague resource group at CVS Health. When I was at McKesson, I spent 10 years in our employee resource group that supported veterans as well. So that allows you to kind of create your networks and get additional exposure inside of your own organizations. And also, we support veterans charity organizations as well. So, it's always a struggle, I think, to PCR separating from the military. Your mission isn't quite the same as it once was, but you can find purpose in it, especially through those CRGs, by volunteering to support a lot of great veterans charities, Fisher House, and amongst a number of others that we support. I would also advise to take calculated risks. I did that with my career at McKesson. I actually moved into a role in a strategy role with our diversity and inclusion team to support our veterans efforts and our people with disabilities efforts and hiring. So similar to a role that Sarah is in today at CVS Health. Some of the best times that I've had in my career were spent in that role because I knew that I was literally helping people. It was a risk, but I managed to get back into healthcare as well, in a project management role. And then the last one is just cultivate your network. And it kind of goes back to that find your own purpose one as well. If you're working in those CRGs or ERGs in organizations like Aetna or McKesson or others, you'll naturally network inside of your own organization. And obviously with a group like this, as an alumni group, you can also network within there. I expect all you to find me on LinkedIn and to send me a request after the call today. And just like Sarah, if I can help you in your career search, I am more than willing to do so. And I think that's my highlights. So I'll answer my question before. So the two most famous alums from 132 Armor, the first one was Axl Rose. For those of you who are Guns N' Roses fans, probably not a ton of you, but I am. He actually has the regimental crest tattooed on his right shoulder. And the other one was Elvis Presley. So not military focused, but just two famous musicians that were a part of one of the units that I was in. And I'll pass it off to Mike.
Hey, thanks, Greg. Appreciate that. I had no idea Axl Rose was part of the Army. That's news to me. But this is awesome. Really, thank you very much for this opportunity. Very, very excited to be able to come here and speak to folks, especially veterans, veteran spouses, and anybody who's looking to possibly engage in private sector and really utilize a network and create a network around them to be able to help them move on to their next step. I did the very same thing. So what I'm going to do is really just focus on a little bit of my story. Obviously, I won't take too long on it, but you can see the slides. I'm currently a senior manager of the Operational Threat Analysis Group. I work for corporate security and resiliency for CVS Health. We're responsible for doing a number of things in the threat landscape, which I'll get into on the next slide. But really what got me here, when I was 18 years old and trying to figure out what I wanted to do, I can tell you the one sure thing that I knew I was going to do was serve my country. So thank you to all of you who are currently serving and raised your hand to be able to do that. I can tell you that was the one thing I knew I was going to do. I'm third generation military. My grandfather was World War II Navy vet. He was in Normandy. My father, who met my mother in South Korea when he was serving there, was Army, Big Red One. And I decided to join the Air Force, which was the best choice I ever made. And one of the things my father, who was a great mentor to me, and my mother as well, advised me not to go active duty up front first. He actually said, hey, why don't you try joining the Guard? So I did. I joined the 104th Security Forces Squadron in Westville, Massachusetts back in 1996. So I'll date myself, Greg. I don't mind doing that. So back in 1996, I raised my hand and became an enlisted member of the United States Air Force Air National Guard, which at that time, what was really interesting about that was the fact that you could serve your state and serve your country at the same time. And I found that really appealing. It gave me focus. It gave me the ability to be able to start establishing goals. And I'll tell you, when I was in high school, I kind of was leaning toward architectural engineering. And the military helped me identify the fact that law enforcement was really a career for me. Public safety, law enforcement, and security. It really, those functions really gravitated to me. Deployed a number of times. In fact, before I even transitioned to OSI, before I tell you that story, I went and got my associate's degree, and then left for Iraq, and was recruited by the Air Force Office of Special Investigations. And so I work for the Department of the Air Force now, and we are the highest entity for investigative services for the Department of the Air Force, which looks over the United States Air Force and the United States Space Force now. So we're responsible for a significant counterintelligence mission and a significant criminal investigative mission. A number of things come out of OSI, and it's been a phenomenal journey for me to be a part of that and still continuing to be a part of that. So I still am currently serving, as Warner said earlier today. I am an active reservist. I'm still serving, and I will tell you that CVS Health has been phenomenal, and my leadership that I currently work for is extremely supportive. So having been with security forces for 12 years and deploying to Iraq, getting recruited to OSI, and now currently with them, I'm stationed out at Kirtland Air Force Base, New Mexico. I'm a superintendent in charge of operational issues there when I go on station. It's been phenomenal. Been deployed to both Iraqi Freedom, Enduring Freedom, and I'm going to date myself, but Northern Watch as well when I was in Turkey in 1998. And that was protecting the no-fly zone. Maybe some folks on here probably don't even remember that. But again, I've been all around the world, and those experiences really lend assistance to, where I kind of ended up even in my civilian career. So one of the things was really juggling both careers as a reservist and guardsman, and as a member who's also in private or in government service, because I ended up going at the age of 23. I joined the Connecticut State Police. And it was the right move, easy transition from having been security forces in the Air Force. I transitioned very easily over to law enforcement, and obviously the paramilitary lifestyle and the way they approach the organizational structure, the way they approached our mission, really lent assistance to how I felt and where I felt welcome and how things felt for me from a mission set standpoint. So, really all that career, I just retired from the Connecticut State Police and about a year ago. And this is essentially my first step into private sector. And I will share that I was pretty nervous about it. So being 100% transparent, I wasn't sure how it was going to be, how it was going to feel. I was looking at some government opportunities. I did have an offer from some government opportunities. And I ended up having an opportunity here at CVS Health to build an extraordinary team and build a function that wasn't really here for this Fortune 4 company. And I found that really attractive. And so I, kind of took that leap of faith, right? As Greg kind of pointed out, you got to take some chances here. And I did. I took some chances, declined some of the government offers, and took a step into private sector. And what's interesting about this is, as I move on to my career here, throughout my career, in both my careers in the military and the state police, as Greg had pointed out, I didn't get my degree all at once. I constantly found opportunities to professionally develop, whether it was through investigative courses, whether it was through formal certification processes, or whether it was achieving my master's degree over time. It was something that every day you look at yourself and you find a way to make yourself better in the position that you're in, and constantly reevaluate your goals. Currently I'm also an adjunct instructor at a university, and I have a lot of veteran students that I talk to because I teach in the School of National Security. So I get a lot of questions from students who are trying to look into performing some of their skill sets in the government sector or private sector, which is typically based around intelligence analysis and national security issues. So I field a lot of those questions and offer a lot of advice in those areas. So where I'm going with this is that, if you could go on to the next slide, I'll tell you a little bit about what I do here for CVS Health and how really all of my experiences across the government sectors that I've been involved in, both state and federal government, really lend to this position here that I'm in. So I'm currently developing this operational threat analysis group for the enterprise. And what we look at is a whole bunch of support to operational continuity, executive protection, international support. We manage the global travel security program, which unfortunately during COVID has been significantly reduced, but we're looking to expand that out. And obviously physical and retail security issues. So anything that has anything to do with any one of those business lines, as you can imagine, that you saw in one of the slides that Sarah showed, could have some sort of operational impact. And this goes down to how CVS cares about their end user, the customer, the people. I mean, it goes down to how we get medication or infusion treatments for our traveling nurses going to end clients. I mean, it is everything from a weather event to some sort of major security impact. We are thinking about it, we are looking at it, we are evaluating it, and we're trying to provide our key stakeholders with timely information to provide them that strategic warning so they can reduce operational risk. That is the overall goal. So here taking my experience with the state police, which I ended the last 10 years I spent in counterterrorism and counter threat. which lends very nicely to what I was doing in the military as well, which was counterintelligence, counter threat. I deployed in 2012 to Afghanistan, where I was on a counter threat team for Kandahar province. And really, I look at the ways we identify threats and implement our, provide that kind of strategic warning to our leadership. It's all the same recipe, if you would. So it's about translating those experiences and translating the things that you're doing in the military or doing in the government sector, whether it's state or federal, and being able to articulate that appropriately when you're applying for jobs and trying to take that leap of faith in the private sector. So if you want to go on to the next slide. And so, I have some advice here where I'll give some of this out here. Identify your objective. Again, you have to establish what your goal is. What are you trying to achieve? And what you're doing in the military now may not be what you want to do when you get out. It could be something totally different. But if you highlight the soft skills, you're going to find that when you're looking at these recs, when you're applying for jobs, that a lot of those skills that you have learned and obtained through government employment, through your military experience, translates very, very well. So focus on your soft skills and such things as joining forces, collaborating, having teamwork. I mean, there's nowhere better in the military to teach you teamwork, right? Working across lines, cross-functional engagement, working with other teams, kind of bridging that, problem solving, your organizational skills, your communication skills. The biggest thing that I talked with Sarah about when we were prepping up for this, what makes military members attractive for me is their adaptability, their flexibility, and their resilience. And that is extremely important. If you have a member or an analyst or somebody who's applying for a job, who's been tested in a combat environment even, that adaptability, that flexibility, and that resilience that they have, and that they have been tested. So it's really important to illustrate that when you're applying for a job. The other thing is attention to detail, right? Your ability to create simplicity, find efficiencies. We're always forced to do that and reevaluate kind of how we do business in the military. It translates exactly the same way in the private sector. The other thing, I've been helping out a lot of law enforcement folks who are coming into retirement now and looking to come into private sector. I've been helping them really tailor their resumes. And yes, you need to write a resume for each job you are applying for. You need to use the words in the actual rec, okay? And you need to focus in on that and really tailor your resumes that way. There are a lot of algorithms and things that are scanning these resumes nowadays, especially on the government sector side. If you're trying to apply for a government sector job, these things are getting scanned. So make sure that you're using their words, make sure you're translating your soft skills and putting that in there. And please don't use jargon, especially in an interview. Use plain language. In the military, I can't tell you, I share with a lot of people that the military is the only place that has a 500 plus page acronym book that helps you to kind of dissect all the acronyms in there. So please use plain language. And the other thing I'll leave you with as well is professionally develop. Find any opportunity to develop yourself. I don't care if it's finding a mentor, getting your degree, joining a group. Joining Brave was one of the first things I did when I joined. I met Greg. It was a great opportunity to not only expand my network, but to be able to talk to folks and help me kind of, traverse this CVS landscape that I'm in now in this private sector, and to help me be as successful as I can be so I can deliver for this company, because we want to be mission first and mission centric. So if you go to the last slide. And I'll leave you with some thoughts. One thing about military is that we anchor on core values. So I didn't put all the military core values up here, but I did show the Air Force because I wanted you all to know what anchors me and what makes me feel comfortable when I join an organization is knowing that they're founded in some core values that we can relate to and we can reflect on as we move forward operationally in our missions. So obviously you see across all of these that there's a lot of commonality. So understanding that the Air Force, integrity first, service before self, excellence in all we do translates very well to the hard at work behaviors where they're putting people first. We're rising to the challenge. We're joining forces with other organizations outside and inside and within our own team. We're creating simplicity and inspiring trust. And you could see across all the way to Connecticut State Police, the core values that I had there. These core values translate very easily and help to anchor me. So you will find that this will help you. And CVS Health is really, really big on the hard at work behaviors and pushing that in everything we do every day as we move forward. And I'll pause there and move on to the next slide. And if anybody has any questions, I'm starting to see the chat rolling up here with some questions. So
Yeah.
eager to answer any questions.
No, Mike and Greg, thank you so much. I've been keeping my eye on the chat as well. And I'll just wrap up with a couple quick slides in case this does help to answer any questions that you all have. Now that you've heard a little bit more about the different career areas that we have within the organization. So first is our application process. People often ask, what is it? What does it look like? On our military career site, we do have more details on each of these steps. I really just tried to summarize them here for you all, but again, you can apply through the military career site. You can use the main career site, jobs.cvshealth.com, and then search. We recommend just familiarizing yourself with the positions that we have and the required qualifications. Use that keyword, use location, use your MOS. All of those options are accepted within the search functionality of our site. Once you find a role that you're interested in and feel that you meet all of the required qualifications for, feel free to apply. You're going to log into your existing account or create a new one with CVS Health. And that is the account that you can continue to log back into at any time to track your application status. I will call out some jobs. Some applications require you to complete what we call a VJT or a virtual job tryout. Not all jobs require this by any means, but just wanted to call that out in case you or a family member or a friend applies to a role with us and you are prompted at the end of your application to complete a VJT. If you are prompted, and it's a very clear prompt if you do in fact have to take one, you must complete that VJT in order for your application to be considered. So just wanted to call that one out. Once you have your application submitted, it's going to be reviewed by a recruiter and they will arrange a phone call or interview if you're selected. And then if you're selected for a next step, you will be invited to interview with your hiring leader or the hiring leader for that position. And then if you're selected, an offer will be extended. So that's a brief overview of our application process, pretty straightforward. Wanted to call out, again, a lot of this is summary of what Mike and Greg already shared, but a couple tips that we often like to share as a result of the questions that we receive. But for that application process, again, just calling out, if you happen to receive a VJT, please make sure you complete that. Ensure that your resume shows you meet all of the required qualifications for the roles. I know Mike touched on that. So really taking into consideration that translation that you're doing, taking the time to make sure that your resume is tailored and it's going to stand out among a pool of candidates that are also submitting their applications for that role. In terms of our interviews, be prepared to answer interview questions using the STAR method. Some of you may know it. For those of you that don't, STAR stands for situation, task, action, and result. So ultimately, those are the 4 components that we are looking for or listening for in your answer. So some overview of what was the situation or the task at hand. How did you contribute to the outcome and success of the situation? And it can feel a little funny sometimes to talk about how you contributed to that personally or individually, especially if you're a little bit like me and you like to attribute your success to your team, but practice that. We really want to hear what you're going to bring to the table in terms of this role. And then showcase possession of our hard at work behaviors. I know we've talked about that a lot, but I cannot emphasize it enough. It truly is a big part of our culture and part of what we're looking for as well, and part of what we're asking about within those interviews. So those are some of the quick tips that I wanted to call out here, and wanted to also state that we do have a formal accommodation team and process for anyone that ever does need to request one. This accommodation statement is listed within the footer of every page on our career site. So if you don't write it down right now from this presentation, you can easily find it on our career site. And that really concludes our presentation. I know we have a couple minutes left for questions. So Warna and Rebecca, I will really open it up to both of you if you'd like to field anything to us.
First of all, thank you so much to all of you, Sarah, Mike, and Greg, for that amazing presentation. It's so informative, and I'm sure all of our students and graduates that are attending right now feel really great about CVS Health and Aetna. And with that, they can come up with some really great questions, of course. So the first question I have here from Katrina, she says that it took a moment for her to look over the remote job postings, and most job postings include like a base city. So she lives in Fairbanks, Alaska, and she couldn't find a remote job that could apply for that was based out of Fairbanks. So she's asking, can I apply for fully remote jobs that are located in different cities?
That is a great question. And Greg or Mike, if you have anything specific to the roles in your business areas, please feel free to chime in, but I'll give you the general response, which is our job descriptions are usually very specific. So even within the first sentence of that first paragraph in the job description, if you need to be based in whatever's listed as that base city or state, it's often mentioned there. So for example, must be located near or around Houston, Texas for X amount of training that needs to be completed. If it says fully remote, a lot of times it is open to fully remote within the US, but I don't want to speak out of turn for some positions that might require you to, again, be based within that specific state. So if you do have a specific rec that you are very interested in and you meet the qualifications for, and you've applied and you would like to connect with somebody, you're welcome to contact me, and I'm happy to reach out to that recruiter if it's not clearly stated within the job description.
Thank you so much, Sarah. The next question is from Horace, and he asks, does CVS offer internships within the military skill bridge program? Another really great question.
Yeah, and I don't know, Greg, were you about to say something as well to that last question?
Yeah, I was just going to throw in, my team is distributed across the country. I have teammates in Arizona, California, Tennessee, a couple in Connecticut and Massachusetts, so in Florida. So we're literally kind of strewn across the country. So I think to your point, Sarah, that just make sure you read the rec and make sure you know what it says. But if it says fully remote, oftentimes you don't have an obligation to go into an office location.
And to answer that next question, Warner, so we absolutely do have a Skill Bridge program. I am not the team that oversees that program, though I do work closely with them. If you have a specific question or interest in Skill Bridge, please feel free again to contact or email me, and I'm happy to connect you with the individual. His name is Rafael Lopez. He is part of our Workforce Initiatives team, and our Workforce Initiatives team is running our Skill Bridge program and some additional programs for our service members as well. So you're more than welcome to reach out to me, and I'm happy to make that connection.
Thank you, Sarah. That's very good, because yeah, a lot of our military students they're very interested in Skill Bridge. But to the other portion of Horace's question, which was about internships, do you know who might be the contact, or is that you, or?
Is this for just a general type of internship, or?
Indicate, I guess we're just covering internships just in general.
Yes, so we do have a dedicated university relations team that does work jointly with the team that I'm on as well. So again, if you have a question, just because I know we're limited on time, I'm not sure what type of internship you might be looking for. And we do have internships at different times of the year. Some are cyclical, so they occur around the same time every year. And then some are created as needed by each of the different business areas. One, you're welcome to use that word, even internship or intern, within the keyword function of our career site and see what pops up is available right now. But if you're looking for additional information, we do have some on the career site and cvshealth.com, and you're welcome to reach out to me, and I can find out from our university relations team anything else that you might be looking for or interested in.
Thank you, Sarah. Next question comes from Clinton, and he's asking, I'm looking for a firm that can support my leadership cultivation, personal development, and believes in continual improvement and innovation. You three make it seem like CVS Health may be a good fit, and what's the best route to apply or seek open opportunities?
I'll speak to the application process, and then Greg or Mike, I'll let you chime in with any other thoughts on those skill sets. But in terms of the application process, we ask everybody to follow the same process, which is submit your application through our external career site. We need that in order to really track your application and see you in our system. That has to be done at some point anyways during our conversation. So if you find a role you're interested in, submit that application, make sure your resume is tailored. You're welcome again to reach out to me with that rec ID. If you have a specific question, I can connect with the recruiter, but that's generally speaking the application process. And Greg or Mike, I'll let you chime in with any other thoughts on that skill set within CVS.
Sure, I'll chime in and look at it. Everybody in the organization that I've dealt with within the last year, and like I said, I've only been there for a little over a year, but I will tell you, really, it has given me the latitude to be able to grow, professionally develop. They inspire me to look for, they really encourage me to look for new opportunities of growth. So I'm looking at certifications right now. So they will leverage that. And I can speak for myself as a leader of a team that I encourage that of my people. I want professional development of them. So I encourage them to do the work, find certifications, find training, partner with our federal state partners and look for things that are related to making us better as a team to be able to help support the mission that we're charged with doing for CVS. So absolutely. And my bosses are prior military and federal service members as well. And so they encourage that. And it's just a really good culture in corporate security and resiliency as far as that goes. So that's just speaking for my department.
Yeah, and I would say that's generally true overall. But I would say, I guess I would caution a little bit. Generally, professional development is incumbent upon the individual, and the organization can help support that, right? So you have to have your own career goals. A project management professional certification was one of mine. I would encourage everyone, if you go work for an organization, make them pay for it. CVS Health paid for my training, and they paid for my exam fee, right? I didn't have $1 out of pocket to get that certification, which has now made me more marketable if I chose to leave the organization or move to a new role. So, but yes, CVS Health absolutely will help you obtain those professional and personal goals. There's certainly a lot of room for it.
Thank you so much. The next question comes from Cassie. This person's asking, I have been out of the military for 2 years. My job was both administration and IT. I find it difficult to find my lane. From me, she's you can ask this question. She's basically asking career field recommendations, also advising student to reach out to. Okay, got it. So we're basically just asking, her field with administration and IT, and just trying to figure out, what's difficult. It's difficult for her from her lane perspective. So, what recommendations would you give somebody who has this kind of a background, please?
I can give it a general thought. I didn't know, Greg, I saw you come off and I didn't know if you had a thought there.
Well, I do. I think especially if you're in the IT space, having continual education, having certifications, that the things that you're investing in as a part of this organization are absolutely the right ways to go. A certification is less intense than a full degree program oftentimes, but it does prove to an employer that you have the formal experience within, particularly within IT, because there are a lot of different certifications that you can get. So if IT is your desired pathway, I think those certifications programs are critical, and they'll help you bridge to a civilian career.
Thank you so much, Greg. And the final question comes from Nicholas Brooks, and he's asking, he's first of all stating, I have graduated with an MBA in 21. I've been working in product and project management for almost 10 years now. So this one's kind of maybe up Mike's alley. We'll see. I am a VP Senior Product Manager, managing technology releases. I do not have a PMP certification, but I have years of experience, and I have completed the project management coursework, and I'm eligible to sit for the PMP exam. Do you require PMP certifications, or are they preferred?
I can speak to my team, and Sarah can probably speak to it overall. I think PMP certifications are generally kind of a preferred, not a required. But if you've sat for the training, I mean, I know the exam fee is significant, but I think again, it's worth having that credential if you have the training and can get the certification. But I don't think it's a required cert for any of the roles that I've seen at CVS Health.
And my apologies, of course, that question would have been for Greg, since he was in project management, not Mike. My apologies on that. But thank you so much. We have come to the end of our session. There are a few items I want to share with all of you. And again, thank you so much for that amazing presentation. If you want to connect with CVS Health and Aetna and other organizations that are actively hiring for full-time positions and internships, please log into Handshake through your student portal. We recommend checking Handshake and UAGC Connect regularly for more career services events. As a reminder, our spring 2022 virtual career fair is now open for student and alumni registration. The event will occur on April the 27th, and you can sign up through your student portal in Handshake. We are excited to share that CVS Health will be attending this event. In the next few days, you will receive a follow-up email with a link to this recording and information about CVS Health and Aetna. If you have any questions for University of Arizona Global Campus Career Services on your resume, cover letter, and job search, please email careerservices@uagc.edu or log in to Handshake through your student portal to explore more resources. Thank you to CVS Health and Aetna for attending our event today. We're so appreciative of having you here today and sharing what you did. Many thanks to you, our students and graduates, for attending UAGC. We look forward to seeing you at our spring 2022 virtual career fair and at future information sessions. And again, many thanks for your service, and everyone have a great day.